Hello and welcome. So today's episode is going to be a touch more rushed than the previous one on A Monster Expedition. We're going to be talking about Mini Metro and its incredible procedurally generated soundtrack by Richard Vreeland, aka Disasterpiece, who's known obviously for things like Fez and Hyper Light Drifter and the wonderful film soundtrack for It Follows. So the reason I particularly wanted to take a look at this game is because it is currently part of the indie bundle for Palestinian Aid, available on itch.io, which at the time of recording is only available for the ridiculously low price of $5, which includes this and 1,018 other games. It's only available for the next 4 days and 20 hours. So I figured this would be this is the only time I've got to do it, so I figured I'd make sure that I could at least put something together to support this incredible bundle. Support this incredible game, and if you happen to pick up the bundle, then one of my games, Click Miner, is also in that, so yay for that kind of publicity. But more importantly, Mini Metro and its fantastic audio. A little addition, I actually have my Arturia Micro Freak to help me out. Because there's going to be lots of notes and I'm going to need to know what they are, and my pitching is not the best. And Mini Metro's entire soundtrack is generated procedurally, and that means that it's going to be created by the game itself. So things within the game's code are going to be generating the sounds. And that gives us a huge amount of flexibility. So previously, on the last episode, we were talking about A Monster's Expedition and how it uses vertical and horizontal audio. And procedural audio essentially can be used in either of those categories. And the way that this is going to be the way that it's going to be used for this particular game is building up these layers, but entirely through the logic which has been predefined. But this game could actually be the music for it is actually going to be in any key that it wants to be in, but it will typically stick in one key per level. Richard Vreeland has actually made a behind the scenes video which is an hour and a half, but to give you an impression of how rushed I am to do this, I haven't actually been able to watch it yet. So please do watch it because I'm sure it's very, very worth your time. Everything, any video I've ever watched of him is always worth its weight in gold. Okay, cool. So without further ado, let's get on to the actual playing of Mini Metro, a game where we are just trying to get passengers from one place to another with trains. Okay. So a couple of really nice things to notice when we just listen. Okay, so we've got that kick drum, that low kick drum. All of the music here is in B flat major, he says. Apologies, that was a hilarious garble just because of the keyboard, but B flat major. So B flat D F. Every single time you load the game, it'll be in a different key, so I have to check every single time. As a little kind of design thing, I love that we have audio options for audio full, minimal, and actually for silent. I also really, really like the way that the notes just have that nice release envelope at the end of them. I'm not entirely sure the difference between silent and minimal, but we'll of course be playing with full and with volume at medium. And let's just have a little go. So it's just such a lovely sound world for this game. So we're just going to be playing through one level. We're going to be playing through London. Yeah, so again, nice chords. All right, so now we're starting in London, and we can actually pause the game, which is nice to be aware of. So the way that, just to give you a quick rundown of the mechanics, we are going to be able to join up train lines together, as so. Now, you might have already noticed something quite interesting. I was probably talking over it. Each of these train lines, of which we start off with the options to use 3 of them, the yellow line, the red line, and the blue line, each of them is assigned a different note. Okay, so we're in D major. Okay, fabulous. So we're in D major for this particular level. Okay, and if I do that again and you listen out to those notes, so yellow has that low A, or more precisely, that's the F sharp. Oh. Okay, so that's the third of the chord. dun. And that's the root of the chord, the D. And those are referred to as chord tones, the first, third, and fifth of the chord. And when we start, and I know that looks a bit ridiculous, so let's just play for a bit. Cool, okay, great. Yeah, so what we've now done, I mean, in terms of the game, is we've created 3 train lines. But you'll hear that each of those train lines has that lovely resonant hum going on in the, in it. And it's just this really lovely way that the soundtrack is building up from the object. So, for example, if I got rid of, say, the yellow line, we no longer have that bass note. The root note, sorry. I'm actually wrong, sorry. I got rid of the A, so we just got a D and an F sharp. And so the soundtrack is being created by the objects which are present. So I'll bring it back so we've got the full chord. It's nice to start off with a second inversion chord, so you've got the A in the bass, A, D, F sharp, because it just is a really nice little touch to bring a sense of instability. And you'll just hear... and that really low D. Really, really great to hear. And what's so lovely is that as I'm interacting with these train lines, if I'm clicking on them and dragging them, it will remember what note is associated. So that's going to be, this one is the D note, this one is the low A, that'll be the F sharp, do, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, just the way that the soundtrack is so embedded into the object is so lovely. And like I said, it could be in a number of different keys. I don't know if it's all 12, but at least a handful of different keys it could be each time. So what's going on in terms of gameplay is that we've, these stations are generating shapes. So those shapes need to go to their correct station. So all circles need to go to circles. If there was a square, that would have to go to a square. And if it was a triangle, if this triangle you could possibly see here, it's black on very dark blue, has to go over to there, and they're taken by the carriages. I think there was a point, but I just wanted to quickly explain. Every time I pause and unpause, there's a little bit of a ticking sound. That's just from the clock. Also showing us that we have a steady pulse throughout. Low D. So again, we're just playing around with the chord tones, the first, third, and fifth degrees of that scale. So this is, in terms of people who learn about harmony, like the basics that you have, this is setting up our root tonality, what home feels like. And we just keep going. Again, nice low D. So we're actually going to speed it up. We're going to hit the fast forwards. So isn't it just lovely, this haze of sound which is created? Eventually there will be other notes. It's actually interesting to me that it's... Oh, cool, fantastic. Just toward the end there, we got that C sharp and then the F sharp. And those two notes were added there, which kind of gives us this sense of minor tonality. We're now into week 2, and the harmony starts shifting. It starts changing up somewhat. We are still in the D major scale. It's just going to be treating those notes and giving those notes different weighting to give us different chordal colors. And if I just stop talking, it's just these lovely rhythms. And if you remember that our pulse was going like, you get this real sense that the whole game, or more precisely, it was that, wasn't it? From when we hit pause on the clock, or when we unpause the clock, we heard that. It's lovely how the entire game runs on this metronome. Just it's kind of in the background. There isn't, and you can feel that pulse. Anyway, we've got a new locomotive, and we're going to take another line because that means that we'll get another note to play with, and that's what we're here for. Ba. cool. And then we actually have the... I'm going to pause it there. And then... Now I actually have this F sharp minor 7, the F sharp, A, C sharp, E. And that's just a really again... Every time I talk, I want to just listen. Yeah, and it's more coloration from the fact that we started off on the D. Yeah, I'm right, yeah. Because we started with the D major as being our key, and now we've got the F sharp minor 7. Again, we're still in the scale, so everything works harmonically because it is all diatonic. That is the word for the day. It means it fits in the scale. But it just means that everything is able to gel harmonically and it will work, which lends itself really well to kind of procedural music in general. Let's just go. And having just had that touch of F sharp minor, we now that was a low A. So that again, because A is chord 5 of D major, it still means that the notes of A major will work. Again, it's just playing around with diatonic harmony in a procedural environment. Those are ridiculous words. Boom. Is that really? Yeah, that's the low A. Lovely F sharps. Just hearing... Oh, yeah, of course, sorry, I'm being an idiot. We have another entirely new train line to add. So I'm going to add it from... Oh, baby, yes, that's the A. My apologies. Sorry, I'm actually just thinking about the game, which is not what we're here for. Ba-da-da. We keep hearing Baby Shark do-do-do, but hopefully I won't get like a copyright thing for that. He says, very, very hopefully. That would be ridiculous if I got a copyright strike for singing that, but strange things have happened. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, and this is essentially the majority of how this soundscape works. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to wait till the end of the week, just because more stuff will happen. Loady. Whoops. Even like the UI sounds are all tuned in. Like when I picked up bloop, bloop, like that, that's an E, so it fits in the scale. I literally can't grab any other. Like, boo. Yeah. Bloop, bloop. Again, all of the sounds are tuned to the home key. It's just such a lovely example of how the UI can build up. All right, so this is interesting. So the final mechanic of this game, or as we are in week 3, is that when train, I'll just beautiful C sharp against the D there. Anyway. Oh yeah, it's kind of an A, C sharp, D kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, so what's going to happen now is that this station has too many people, and so we need to make sure that our trains are prepared to deal with that. And the way the game creates tension in these scenarios is to add percussion. And that's essentially what we get now. And then notice we had that t. But now, because the passengers were taken away and the station was back to its normal capacity, that then faded out again. So again, the layer of that percussion fading in and out, depending on the severity of how we are at the minute, of where we are as the player. So you'll hear it back in and out. What we're going to do is try and sabotage ourselves. Yes, cool. No, I was scuttled by this red dude. So let's get the red people out the way, and we're just gonna try and overflow. Yeah, because by now we're actually just trying to lose. So we're trying to overflow this. I'm actually gonna turn it, go back to normal speed, just so you can hear the percussion build up. So lovely. Finishing on that B. And, you know, this is, and again, B still being note 6 of D major. And that's a really, really cool and interesting way to create drama, is just to add those little extra bits of percussion, have the complaining people. If you're playing it on fast forward, then yeah, that's in double time as well, so that's even more dramatic. I realized halfway through that might have been interesting, so go check it out. But yeah, it's just, there is so much imagination in that, and it just, again, suits the game so perfectly. So yeah, that is going to be the end of what we're going to be taking a look at. So okay, so now we're in E major, for example, and we certainly weren't before. We were in B flat, I think. Yeah. So this has been Mini Metro. I'm just going to mute it just while I finish off. Such a lovely touch, the way that it doesn't just mute immediately, but it actually just fades with its release tails. Yeah, so let's go to here. Yeah, so this has been a very, very quick video and not very well prepared on Mini Metro, and looking at procedural audio. Like I said, the reason I did it in a bit of a rush is the fact that in 4 days and 20 hours, the indie bundle for Palestinian Aid, of which this is part of, will no longer be available. So if you want to pick this game up, one of my games up, and 1,017 other games for $5, then please go to itch.io and look into getting the indie bundle for Palestinian Aid. I think it's a great cause, and I think it is worth looking into. So, Mini Metro, music by Richard Vreeland, incredible, fascinating procedural audio. If you have the time, which I haven't, then please watch his hour-and-a-half video talking about how he made it. I will put the link in the bio. I'm sure he'll say loads of things like, oh yeah, you know, and disprove pretty much everything I've said, but that's by the by. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to aim to do one of these every month, but just due to the nature of the shortness of deadline on the indie bundle, I figured I would just do one immediately. So hope you're having a great day. I hope you've enjoyed. If you've got any thoughts, got any ideas of things that you'd like to ask me, or games that you think I should check out, then do let me know. I'm always really, really appreciative of your time and thoughts. So I hope you have yourself a great, great day, and take care of yourselves. Okay.